PL-600 Microsoft Certification Power Platform Solution Architect Question and Answer, Set 1. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company has several Microsoft Dataverse environments. You are designing the security model. The company needs to define a data loss prevention (DLP) strategy that applies to all departments except the communications department. The communications department requires a solution to enable interaction with third-party applications. You need to recommend how the DLP strategy should be structured to meet the requirement. Which two actions should you recommend to structure the DLP strategy correctly? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Option 1, create one DLP policy. Option 2, create one environment. Option 3, create two DLP policies. Option 4, create two environments. Correct answers: create one environment. Create two DLP policies. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of DLP policies. DLP policies help to prevent users from sharing company data intentionally and unintentionally outside a company's approved platforms and applications. For this scenario, one environment needs to be created for the communications department to exclude it from the scope of the general DLP policy. In addition, two DLP policies need to be created. One general DLP policy needs to include all environments, which ensures the policy takes effect on the entire enterprise, including present and future environments. Another policy is required to exclude the environment for the communications department. Two environments are not required for the scenario, and including all environments in one policy means the policy will take effect only on the current environments, not the future ones. This does not meet the requirement for the policy to take effect across the entire enterprise. This also does not exempt the communications department. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company implements Dynamics 365 customer service. The company requires a customer-facing portal. Customers must be able to create cases and access the status of any of their existing cases. You need to recommend the Microsoft Power Platform capability for the portal. Which capability should you recommend? Option 1, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Customer Voice. Option 2, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Field Service. Option 3, Microsoft Power Pages. Option 4, Copilot Agents. Correct answers: Microsoft Power Pages. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of different parts of Microsoft Power Platform. Power Pages provides an external-facing website where customers can log in to interact with the data in Dataverse and manage their cases. Customer Voice is a survey tool and does not have the capabilities of a portal where a customer could log in and manage their cases. Field Service is another Dynamics 365 module. It manages field workers. Field Service does not have an out-of-the-box external-facing portal and does not handle cases. Power Virtual Agents can be embedded on a website, but it is not a whole website itself. It is a chatbot that customers can interact with. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company needs to develop an airport travel request solution to manage travel requests from employees. The managers must approve the travel requests. The solution must store travel requests, airport details, and approvers. You need to propose a data model that meets these requirements. What should you recommend? Option 1, create 3 custom tables. Option 2, create 1 custom table and use 2 standard tables. Option 3, use 3 standard tables. Option 4, use 1 standard table and create 2 custom tables. Correct answers: use 1 standard table and create 2 custom tables. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of designing tables. Standard tables are a base set of tables in Dataverse that supports common business scenarios. When a standard table is not available to meet your application requirement, a custom table is created. For the airport travel request solution, custom tables are required to store the travel request and airport data. But to access the information of the approvers, the users table should be used because this stores the information of all users in the company. A custom table is not required. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company needs to export data from an Azure SQL database and import it into Microsoft Dataverse. You are designing the data migration strategy. You need to ensure the migration tool you select can perform data transformations and scheduled refreshes. Which tool should you select? Option 1, Import Data Wizard. Option 2, Azure Synapse Analytics. Option 3, Azure Data Lake. Option 4, Microsoft Power Apps Data Flows. Correct answers: Microsoft Power Apps Data Flows. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of data migration strategies. Power Apps Data Flow is a collection of tables created and managed within environments to enable the transformation of data and data refresh schedules between a data source and Dataverse. Power Apps Data Flows can be used to perform data transformation and scheduled refreshes when migrating data from Azure SQL to Dataverse. The Import Data Wizard is focused on the import process. It cannot perform scheduled refreshes when migrating data from Azure SQL to Dataverse. Azure Synapse Analytics is a cloud-based analytics service designed to handle big data and perform analytics at scale. It cannot perform data transformation and scheduled refreshes when migrating data from Azure SQL to Dataverse. Azure Data Lake is a scalable and secure cloud storage. It cannot be used for data transformation and scheduled refreshes when migrating data from Azure SQL to Dataverse. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company plans to digitize its vendor registration process. The requirements for the vendor registration solution have been gathered. You need to identify the non-functional requirement. Which requirement should you choose? Option 1, Report Generation. Option 2, Data Validation. Option 3, Search and Retrieval. Option 4, Response time of the application. Correct answers: response time of the application. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements describe how the solution needs to perform. It captures the requirements that are needed to support and maintain the solution. Quality standards and attributes that a solution must meet are also categorized as non-functional requirements. Some examples of non-functional requirements are response time, data retention, availability, scalability, recovery time, and compliance and regulatory requirements. Functional requirements are features of the solution that are implemented to enable business users to achieve their tasks. These types of requirements describe what the solution needs to do. Report generation, data validation, and search and retrieval are types of functional requirements. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company plans to rebuild an older system. While reviewing the requirements for the project, you discover that several requirements are vague. You need to ensure the requirements are clearly captured. What should you ask the project stakeholders to do? Option 1, Review the prototype of the new system. Option 2, Complete a survey that has multiple choice questions. Option 3, Attend a session to answer open-ended questions. Option 4, Attend a session to answer questions that have fixed response options. Correct answers: attend a session to answer open-ended questions. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of refining high-level requirements. During a requirement gathering session with the project stakeholders, it is important to start off with open-ended questions. The responses provide additional context on the requirements, thereby ensuring all requirements are clearly captured. Asking the stakeholders to complete a multiple-choice survey gives them a set of predefined answers they need to select from. It will not give them the opportunity to fully express their requirements. It also will not provide a way to ask additional questions on the answers provided in the survey and will not ensure all requirements are clearly captured. Asking the stakeholders to attend a session where the questions asked will have fixed response options will keep the stakeholders constrained in their answers. This will not help to clarify the vague requirements and will not ensure the requirements for the new solution are clearly captured. Asking the stakeholders to review a prototype of the new system by itself will not provide clarity on the vague requirements and will not ensure the requirements are clearly captured. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company requires a bill tracking app. Each record created in the app must automatically have a reference number in the following format: year, day, or month. 01, the year must be the last two digits of the year, and 01 must increase by increments of 1 for each record. You are designing the table for the bill tracking app. You need to create the reference number column. Which two actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Option 1, create a new column with the data type of auto number. Option 2, create a new column with the data type of number. Option 3, select the custom setting. Option 4, select the date prefixed number setting. Option 5, select the calculated behavior type. Correct answers: create a new column with the data type of auto number. Select the custom setting. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of designing tables and columns. To achieve the format year, month, day-01, you need to create a new column with the data type of auto number. The auto number columns automatically generate alphanumeric strings when they are created. The format in this column can be customized to achieve this format. Additionally, you need to select custom in the auto number type setting. This enables you to create the required format for the reference number field. If a new column is created with the data type of auto number and the date prefixed number setting is selected, this setting can only achieve the reference number in the full year format, YYYY. It cannot be modified to the last two digits, YY. Creating a new column with the data type of number cannot be used because it allows only numbers, and the reference number format is alphanumeric. The calculated behavior type of the number column can be used to sum or aggregate data. It cannot generate the increments of 1 required in the format of the reference number. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company requires a new website. You need to create dynamic content and web templates for the website. Which component should you use? Option 1, Code Components. Option 2, Java. Option 3, Liquid. Option 4, Portal's Web API. Correct answers: Liquid. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of Microsoft Power Platform solution components. Liquid is an open-source template language used to add dynamic content to web pages and to create custom web templates and Power Pages. Portal's web APIs are used to perform create, read, update, and delete operations across all Dataverse tables from web pages. Code components can be created for Power Apps Canvas and model-driven applications. Then, they can be added to a form in Power Pages to enhance the experience of users working with data on forms, views, and dashboards. Java is a server-side language. It is not used to create dynamic content and web templates for a website. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company requires a supplier management application. Suppliers reside in various states in the United States. You need to ensure the data model design meets the following requirements. A list of states where suppliers reside must be available for other applications to reference. Users must be able to update the state list. Users must be able to select only one supplier per state. What should you do? Option 1, create a local choice and a choice column for state in the supplier table. Option 2, create a state table and create a many-to-one, N1, relationship with the supplier table. Option 3, create a state table and create a one-to-many, 1N, relationship with the supplier table. Option 4, create a global choice and a choice column for state in the supplier table. Correct answers: create a state table and create a one-to-many, 1N, relationship with the supplier table. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of tables and relationships. Creating a table for the state column ensures that users have the ability to update the choices in the table as required. Creating a 1N relationship from the state table to the supplier table ensures users can select only one state. Creating an N1 relationship from the state table to the supplier table ensures a supplier can belong to many states, which does not meet the requirement. The choice column is used for a fixed set of choices. The global choice can be used when the fixed set of choices needs to be accessed by other tables. A local choice can be used when the fixed option set needs to be accessed in the table alone. The choice column should not be used in situations where the option set of choices needs to be updated frequently by the users. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company requires an agent management solution. The solution must meet the following requirements. Can manage agents who deliver on-site service at customer locations. Can manage the equipment of customers. You are in the solution planning phase. You need to recommend the appropriate application. Which application should you recommend? Option 1, Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, Data. Option 2, Dynamics 365 Customer Service. Option 3, Dynamics 365 Customer Voice. Option 4, Dynamics 365 Field Service. Correct answers, Dynamics 365 Field Service. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of Dynamics 365 applications. The field service application can manage agents who deliver on-site service to customer locations and manage the equipment of these customers. The customer service application supports customer service agents in resolving customer cases promptly, accurately, and efficiently to drive customer satisfaction remotely. It does not provide features for managing on-site agents or customer equipment. Customer Voice is a feedback application that can easily receive feedback through surveys and track metrics on the feedback received. It does not provide features for managing on-site agents or customer equipment. Dynamics 365 Customer Insights Data provides a holistic view of the customer by unifying data from multiple channels and sources to create a single customer profile. It does not provide features for managing on-site agents or customer equipment. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The company's sales team attends a conference. After the conference organizers share a list of the attendees in Microsoft Excel. The list contains over 10,000 names. The company wants to save the attendees' information in a custom on-premises customer management system that has no APIs. You need to recommend a solution that meets this requirement. What should you recommend? Option 1, Azure Logic Apps. Option 2, Business Process Flow. Option 3, Cloud Flow. Option 4, Desktop Flow. Correct answers, Desktop Flow. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of Microsoft Power Platform solution components. Desktop flows provide the ability to accurately extract data from an Excel sheet and save the data into a custom on-premises system with no APIs available. Desktop flows expand the robotics process automation in Microsoft Power Automate and can automate repetitive desktop processes. Cloud flows are triggered either manually, automatically, or through a schedule. Business process flows define a set of steps for users to follow to get to an outcome. These flows cannot extract information from an Excel sheet into a custom on-premises system with no APIs available. Logic apps can create and run automated workflows. They cannot integrate with a custom on-premises system with no APIs available. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The finance department uses a third-party ERP solution that is a standalone application and is not based on Microsoft Power Platform. You are designing an integration between the two systems. The company requires that the integration approach follows Microsoft's recommendations. You need to recommend the approach the integration should use to authenticate against Microsoft Dataverse. Which approach should you recommend? Option 1, Named User Account. Option 2, Non-Interactive User. Option 3, Service Account. Option 4, Service Principal. Correct answers, Service Principal. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of connecting to Dataverse and designing a third-party integration. For the integration described in the scenario, Microsoft's recommendation is to use Service Principal to authenticate against Dataverse, preferably using a managed identity. A named user account could be inactivated when the user leaves the company or a password changes. Both occurrences would stop the integration from working. A service account must be registered as a non-interactive user in Dataverse. It is only possible to create 7 of these in one environment, and with an integration, this number could be exceeded quickly. A non-interactive user is not recommended over Service Principal. There is a limited number of non-interactive users you can create per environment. In addition, Service Principal is more secure and easier to manage from an administrative perspective. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. The sales team requires an app to track the monthly sales of their product. You are designing the data visualization strategy for the app. The sales team shares the following data report requirements. The team must be able to ask questions and get answers in visual format in the report. The report must show the locations of the team's customers on a map. You need to ensure the data report meets these requirements. What should you do? Option 1. Create the report with charts in a model-driven app. Option 2. Create the report with views in a model-driven app. Option 3. Create the report by using Microsoft Power BI in a model-driven app. Option 4. Create the report by using the report wizard in a model-driven app. Correct answers: create the report by using Microsoft Power BI in a model-driven app. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of a data visualization strategy. Power BI includes the map visual, which will display the locations of the sales team's customers on a map. Power BI also includes the Q&A feature, which can be used to ask questions about data and receive answers in visual format in a report. The charts and report wizard available in a model-driven app do not have these features. Views are stored queries in a table. They are not used for creating reports with visuals. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. You are designing the integration of data between a Microsoft SQL Server database and Microsoft Dataverse. Data from the invoice table in the SQL Server database must be migrated to the customer invoice table in Dataverse. The data from the SQL Server database has the most recent version with new records. You need to ensure that after migration there are no duplicate or missing records and all existing records are up to date. Which data operation should you use in the Microsoft Power Automate Cloud flow you create? Option 1. Aggregate. Option 2. Create. Option 3. Update. Option 4. Upsert. Correct answers: upsert. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of designing integration with an organization's existing system. The upsert data operation reduces the complexity involved in data integrations. This data operation checks if the record already exists in the customer invoice table in Dataverse. If the record exists, it updates the record. If it does not exist, it creates the record, thereby ensuring that there are no duplicate or missing records and that all existing records are up to date. The update data operation is used to modify the existing records in the customer invoice table in Dataverse. However, it will not create new records, thereby leading to missing records. The create data operation involves adding new records to the customer invoice table in Dataverse, which will lead to duplicate records for the records that already exist. Also, this operation will not update the existing records, thereby leading to records that are duplicated and not up to date. The aggregate operation is used to calculate aggregated values from a dataset. It involves applying functions such as sum, average, count, maximum, and minimum. It does not ensure that there are no duplicate records or missing records and that all existing records are up to date in the customer invoice table in Dataverse. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. You are designing the security model. The company is concerned about potential data leakage to social media platforms through Microsoft Power Platform. You need to ensure company data cannot be leaked through Microsoft Power Platform. What should you implement? Option 1. Cross-tenant isolation. Option 2. Data loss prevention, DLP. Option 3. Environment security role. Option 4. Security role. Correct answers: data loss prevention, DLP. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of data loss prevention, DLP. DLP policies help prevent users from intentionally or unintentionally exposing data. DLP can be used to prevent the leakage of company data through Microsoft Power Platform to social media platforms. Security roles are used to define privileges in Dataverse tables. Environment security roles determine the privileges granted in an environment. Cross-tenant isolation determines if apps and data can be shared between tenants for business-to-business, B2B, scenarios. None of these can be used to prevent data leakage from Microsoft Power Platform. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. You are designing the security model. The security model must meet the following requirements. Microsoft Power apps must be accessible only from company devices. An authorization code must be required when a Power Apps app is accessed from a location outside the employee's country/region of residence. You need to ensure the security requirements are met. What should you configure? Option 1, Microsoft Entra ID B2B. Option 2, Microsoft Entra ID B2C. Option 3, Conditional Access. Option 4, Single Sign-On, SSO. Correct answers, Conditional Access. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of security model management policies and processes. Conditional access can restrict access to Power Apps from the company devices only and ensure an authorization code is required when it is accessed outside of the country/region of residence. SSO enables access to apps without having to sign in separately. Microsoft Entra ID B2B enables a secure way for businesses to collaborate and share their data. Microsoft Entra ID B2C controls how customers sign in using preferred enterprise, social, or local identities. None of them restrict the access to Power Apps based on a user's location or device being used. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. You are working with the company on the development of an operator's portal. The functional and non-functional business requirements have been gathered and shared. The project manager informs you that due to an insufficient budget, the developers of the portal are not able to complete the project by the expected delivery date. You need to recommend a solution to move the project forward. What should you recommend? Option 1, implement the functional requirements and leave out the non-functional requirements. Option 2, schedule another requirement gathering session with the business users to request the removal of some requirements from the project scope. Option 3, prioritize a minimum viable product, MVP, and put the remaining requirements into future sprints. Option 4, ask the developers to implement the requirements within the expected delivery time. Correct answers: prioritize a minimum viable product, MVP, and put the remaining requirements into future sprints. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of refining high-level requirements. When a project has constraints on budget, resources, or time, prioritizing the requirements is a way to quickly meet the business requirements within these constraints. The prioritized requirements will form the MVP, and the other requirements can be included in the backlog for the next sprint. Business users should not be asked to remove their requirements because this will make the solution incomplete and not fit for use. Developers must always develop to best practices and not rush the project and deliver an unstable solution due to time or budget constraints. For every solution, it is important to implement both the functional and non-functional requirements. A company uses Microsoft Power Platform. You are working with the company to create a solution that synchronizes data from Microsoft Dataverse to a third-party application. Developers develop a custom plugin in a model-driven app to synchronize the data with the application. Business users report a failure in the data synchronization, which results in a conflict in the data available in Dataverse and the third-party application. You need to ensure the data synchronizes successfully. What should you use to find the root cause of the synchronization issue? Option 1, Dataverse Auditing. Option 2, Microsoft Power Apps Activity Logging. Option 3, Trace Logging. Option 4, Workflow Log. Correct answers: trace logging. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of resolving integration conflicts. Trace logging assists in the diagnosis of the root cause of a plugin failure. It is used for troubleshooting, debugging, and monitoring. It is a setting available from Power Apps Advanced Settings. Power Apps Activity Logging records activities that are performed on Power Apps such as app creation, publishing, and launch. This is for security and compliance reasons, and it logs activities to the Microsoft Purview Compliance Center. Dataverse auditing logs changes that are made to tables in an environment in Dataverse. It cannot be used to find the root cause of a plugin failure. Workflow log is used to track and record the execution details of workflows. It cannot be used to find the root cause of a plugin failure. A logistics company is going live with a Microsoft Power Apps app for managing inventory and order fulfillment. The project team is going to conduct a test to validate the app during a disruptive incident. The team will test how quickly the app can be restored. You need to make a record of the test procedure. Where should you include the procedure after you capture it? Option 1, Data Migration Plan. Option 2, Disaster Recovery Plan. Option 3, Risk Assessment Document. Option 4, User Training. Correct answers: Disaster Recovery Plan. Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of the testing options available for go-live readiness and documentation of the disaster recovery plan. The project team is performing a disaster recovery test, and the procedure will form part of the disaster recovery plan. This is the correct way to document and structure the recovery and restoration of critical systems, applications, and data in the event of a major disaster or disruptive incident. A risk assessment document analyzes the likelihood of an event occurring and the potential risks and threats it could have on an organization's operations. The risk assessment does not include any approach for the recovery and restoration of critical systems and applications. The data migration document captures the process of transferring data from one system to another, including the sources, data mapping, and reference material for future migrations and data-related activities. User training is the documented process on how users will use the application and how to ensure its successful adoption within an organization. A pharmaceutical customer with multiple lines of business globally is evaluating Microsoft Power Platform for their business. The customer is experiencing data quality issues. You are performing a discovery and assessing the potential risks of moving the customer's data to the cloud. Which two questions should you ask the customer about the data? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Option 1, where should your data reside? Option 2, what data overlaps are there between lines of business? Option 3, are there apps or systems you must keep? Option 4, how many orders did you ship last year? Option 5, which user will be performing the deduplication of your data? Correct answers: where should your data reside? What data overlaps are there between lines of business? Explanation: this item tests the candidate's knowledge of the discovery process when it comes to data management and being able to assess a client's data requirements and risks. Understanding a client's data residency requirements is important because it will have a significant effect on the deployment of the solution. Given that the pharmaceutical company in the scenario is globally distributed, it is important to understand where the company wants to store its data. This is important for a solution architect to know so they can plan for the physical or geographic location of the company's data. It is also important to understand the data quality issues the company is experiencing. A solution architect will also want to learn what common data exists across the company, what might be duplicate data, and what might be sensitive data that needs to be kept private between business units. Identifying apps and systems to keep is not important in the context of the data and data quality issues the company is facing. Understanding the number of orders shipped last year is a single data point that does not provide an understanding of the overall data volumes or data quality issues. Identifying the user who will perform the deduplication of data is a project activity and is irrelevant at this stage of the discovery.